Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Ben Taves, Senator from District 4, Coeur d'Alene. For you today is the privacy in women's and it is regarding privacy in women's and sex separated spaces. The legislature has a fundamental duty to protect the bodily privacy and safety of Idaho citizens. Makes it a misdemeanor for any person to knowingly and willfully enter a restroom.
Where have you gone, our American pride?
Subsection 2 provides 9 specific exceptions where entry into the opposite sex facility is permitted. 1, to perform necessary custodial services or maintenance. 2, to render medical assistance. 3, to provide law enforcement assistance or supervise an arrestee, detainee, or inmate. 4, to render aid during a natural disaster, a declared emergency, or to prevent serious threat to safety. 5, to use single-user facility designated to the opposite sex if it is only the only facility reasonably available at the time. 6, to use the facility during a dire physiological emergency. 7, to use a facility that has been temporarily designated for the person's biological sex. 8, to provide coaching, athletic coaching or training during an athletic event. 9, to accompany and assist a family member, a minor child, a legal ward, or someone in need of assistance. Subsection 3 is definitions. The bill defines a changing room.
We all need to rise up.
I'm kind of questioning or puzzled about Section H, about why we would let a coach go into a shower room or a locker room if that's a concern.
The exceptions were a combination of different conversations and people bringing up reasonable concerns about situations where there might be an exception necessary, and so we just took the variety of concerns and addressed them as we were able to.
Have been fooled by his lies.
It's fairly common for someone to go into a locker room, maybe a coach of the opposite sex, just for coaching purposes, only just during like halftime at an event. So that's pretty acceptable, and it's not during a time when there's showering or changing going on. It's literally just to coach.
When I sat down today, I saw a letter of concern from the Fraternal Order of Police regarding, how one distinguishes from a dire situation to urinate or defecate. Can you talk about how you might address their concern for how to enforce that?
I have the utmost faith in our law enforcement to do an investigation and figure out whether or not there was really an emergency. I think that they have to do investigations, make judgment calls all the time, and this is definitely within their ability.
Like, how does one prove they're in the wrong bathroom or the right one?
First of all, it's important to recognize that it's any person who knowingly and willfully enters a restroom or changing room, etc. So the person would have to knowingly and willfully do so. So we're talking about the unfortunate circumstances where we find ourselves in a bathroom of the opposite sex through an accident of walking through the wrong door. I'm guessing the common way that our law enforcement would handle is by looking at identification, talking to the person, doing a normal investigation. And I would say the same answer as the previous question. Like, I have the utmost faith that our law enforcement is intelligent and have the tools to be able to figure out what they need to figure out. So it would be through that process.
Former temporary senator, welcome.
So it's being sold as necessary to protect the privacy, dignity, and safety of women and girls. But before you create a new crime, let's look at what Idaho law already covers. I've got them here in case anybody needs a refresher. We've got trespass of privacy, video voyeurism, malicious harassment, assault, battery, sexual battery, indecent exposure, which you all passed last session with updates, rape, sexual abuse of a child. I could go on. Now, I'm holding 9 laws already on the books, which is nearly as many as the exemptions that exist in this bill. So if Idaho law already protects the privacy, dignity, and safety, what does HB 752 do? It creates a crime, but that is not based on conduct or harm. It is based on presence. And to justify that, you have to accept that someone's presence alone is traumatizing and harmful enough to criminalize. But if that were true, then why allow exemptions at all? And I actually want to call out the coaches and athletic staff. There was a 2024 study where nearly 11% of athletes reported sexual misconduct, and coaches were named the most common perpetrators 14% of the time it happened in locker rooms and bathrooms. So if this is about safety, then why exempt them? What this bill does is create confusion. It forces someone who looks like me into the women's restroom. So what stops a man from walking into that same space and simply claiming to be a trans man? That's what this opens up. And let's stop pretending like a sign on a door has ever stopped someone intent on causing harm. That's not how this works. This is not about closing a gap. We already have laws that protect privacy, dignity, and safety of all people. This is about criminalizing trans people.
Nixon, so when we also have the single-use bathrooms here. You know, was that not an option where there's just one? You know, what do they call them? Family restrooms, or there's one door, one stall. Like while you were here, that was an option, certainly, wasn't it?
Nixon.
Chairman Lakey, Senator Lenny. You know, I think that I'm going to go back to the premise of this bill and presence on that. What is being claimed? What is so harmful about me walking into the men's bathroom and washing my hands or grabbing a tissue or using a stall? That's what this bill is doing. So I just want to be clear. Sure, there might be other options, but at the end of the day, that's not the reality of every place in this state. And I just want to note, because we are talking about working places, what does somebody do, a trans person do, when they have an 8 or 10 hour shift and that isn't an option? What are they left to do? Senator Rucky, I think you said it right there, separate but equal. We know how that works in this country. I would hope that that is not something that we want to go back to, where we said that of black people, keep things separate but equal. So why are we trying to go back and do this to trans people?
Okay, Nixon, thank you for taking time to be with us today. Appreciate your attendance.
For a brief comment, I am clearly the only woman on the panel, and my heart is beating. Number one, because I think the common denominator in all the violence, most violence against men is committed by other men, heterosexual men. Most violence against little boys done by heterosexual men. Most violence against women done by their family members, people they trust, and by men, heterosexual men. And so what you're assuming then is men are the danger here, and maybe what we should be doing is teaching men to be more respectful, so I won't need your protection, because I can tell you I don't want it. What I do want to live in a world where men can control themselves, practice restraint, and confront each other, and let me live my life.
Mr. Chairman. Senator Foreman?
Just for a motion when you're ready.
A motion is in order, Senator.
I move that we send House Bill 752 to the floor of the Senate with a due pass.
I have a motion from Senator Foreman and a second from Senator Kaiser to send House Bill 752 to the floor with a due pass.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's probably obvious where I stand on the bill, but just want to vocalize my lack of support for it. One, because it's not necessary. We have plenty of laws that actually delineate penalties for behaviors that we don't agree with in a society. And so I just don't think it's needed. I think, you know, the purpose is really targeted at a specific group of folks, as many of the testifiers have underlined. You know, I've probably used the bathroom in public facilities a million times in my life. I should have done the math. I've not once ever been afraid of using a bathroom in the public, ever. Maybe once when I was traveling alone at a rest stop at midnight. You know, man or woman, you'd be afraid there. But I think some of the justifications that we used in segregation and separate but equal are being used here. The same thing about privacy and protection of our white women and these kinds of things. And it really shouldn't. We don't need this law. And I just feel my heart is breaking for the people who came and testified, the folks I can see in the audience, because it's about a law against the presence of somebody just for being alive. And I was kind of looking at some of the history of these bathroom bills, and I found one in 2016 where the AG of North Carolina was commenting because she was bringing a case against the legislature, the state actually, for bringing one of these bills. And it was so poignant because in her comments she said, hey, this doesn't really have to do with bathrooms. This is about common decency and dignity and the respect that we accord our fellow citizens. And to not be able to just go to the bathroom when you have to, and to have to, prove if it's dire or not, or have all these exemptions is really alienating and dehumanizing. And I think that's really the thing that's most troubling to me, is just the dehumanization of folks, and using this, I think, as a way to not allow them to be. And when Senator Nick Matthews was here, it just dawned on me, like, what if he was here as a senator? What would he feel like? And it just felt really awful. So I'll be opposed to this bill.
There's no one saying that people can't go to the bathroom or people are less human in this bill. This bill is saying that men do not belong in women's spaces. I don't want a man going into a locker room with my wife or daughter changing in it. So this simply draws a line, because right now women are harmed by the very fact of a man entering their private space. There's actually not a law if a man went into a locker room, hence the need for this. If a man went into a locker room where a bunch of junior high girls are changing and just stood there, there's no law against that. This just draws a line in the sand. It doesn't say anybody cannot go to the bathroom. It's a pretty common sense law, and I thank the Senator Taves for bringing it.
Senator Shippey.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess just to speak a little bit to the, it's a little bit of a broader issue here, but I think it reveals just the reality that we face. The laws of nature, the laws of gravity, the laws of mathematics, we can't change the laws that we live within. And as I just contemplated some of the opposition to the legislation, I think it reveals just kind of the truth of the matter, that there is male and there's female, and there's no other community, as we've said. It's a myth. It isn't true. And somebody will say that there's a certain group of people that's separated out, and they're trans people. And the law, this bill doesn't address a third group of people. It just addresses male and female. And what I'm, I guess, trying to say is that I think it reveals that we all know that there's male or there's female, and that's why some feel like they're being prevented from using a bathroom that they prefer, because they want to use something that's other than what their biological sex is. It's not a sex assigned at birth. It was that way at their conception, not at birth. We are male or female, and I think that's something that we can lose sight of. And this is simply saying that if you can't go into a bathroom or a locker room or a safe space a space that's really designated for the opposite sex. And so this obviously we know that the primary issue is a little bit one-sided, that women suffer or potentially suffer under a man entering their space more than I think we see that statistically with men suffering that. But I think this is simple legislation. I think it's needed. It's prudent for Idaho. But I think we have to keep reminding ourselves that there is no oppressed community that we're dealing with here because there is only male and female. So I reject the premise entirely. So I just wanted to put that on record.
The problems that are complained of or used as examples have been taken care of under our current criminal statutes. The things that are used as examples by those same members of the committee and by testifiers are ones that we've been dealing with for years and years, and we've never had this statute. So why suddenly do we need this statute? Well, because of some event up in North Idaho dealing with a trans person. And you can't take this out of the context that it's in. If we go back over the last few years, we have had a lot of legislation here dealing with trans people and with bathrooms also dealing with trans people. So, if we're going to do this, let's just do it. Say why we're doing it. It's got us trans people. We'd prefer that they have separate but equal bathrooms. I don't think that sounds very good, though, does it? So, anyway, I'll be voting against the motion.
Senators, we have a motion to send House Bill 752 to the floor with a due pass. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Would you like to be recorded? Yes, please. We will do so. All right. Motion carries, and House Bill 752 will be sent to the floor with a due pass, and we are adjourned.
Hold on, my dear ones, here comes the dawn.
Senator Shippey, I just want to say that trans women are women and trans men are men. And Idaho is not your safe haven to make your white Christian nationalist ideologies the law of the land. This is disgusting legislation. This is inhumane.
There is no oppressed community, so I just wanted to put that on record.
We'd prefer that they have separate but equal bathrooms. I don't think that sounds very good, though, does it?